Hello, and welcome to another edition of Lucian Sets. Today's puzzle is more of a Sudoku lesson, hence the name Sudoku Theory, and less so a solve. So if that's not what you're interested in, then you probably won't enjoy this video. But what we're going to be looking at is a 6x6 anti-knight Sudoku that I threw together to, I guess, maybe more or act like a PSA. There is something that happens with anti-knight 6x6 Sudokus that's really interesting. But I'm going to go through the rules first, and then we'll get to the big chunk that I have there at the bottom of the did you know, and we'll talk through what that means. So, normal 6x6 Sudoku rules apply. Anti-knight. Cells separated by a knight's move, as in chess, may not contain the same digit. Thermo. Digits along thermometers strictly increase from the bulb to the tip. So what does that mean? Well, first of all, normal 6x6 rules that tells us that any complete row, any complete column, and any complete 2x3 thickly outlined box of the Sudoku will contain the digits 1 to 6 once each. Then, for our anti-knight rule, if this cell were a knight as in chess, knights move in an L shape. So two in one direction and one in a perpendicular direction. So what you get, if you try all the different possible combinations, you get these 8 cells here. So if this were a 1, let's say, that would mean that even though this isn't seen by Sudoku, this cell also couldn't be a 1. So that's true for all the digits and all the cells throughout the grid. And finally, we have our thermos. So along the thermometers, these are our thermometers, the digits increase from bulb, which are the circle bits, to the tips. So, for example, on this thermometer, this cell will be greater than this cell will be greater than this cell, so on and so forth, up the thermometer for each thermometer. Now, those are the basic rules, but there is something that is very interesting. Because this is an anti-knight 6x6, there is a certain property that the board has. So if you color a 6x6 anti-knight Sudoku like a checker slash chessboard, one set of 3 digits will always appear in one of the colors, while the other 3 digits will only appear in the other color. You can take my word for it, or try to prove it for yourself. So I guess this is the call to action. If you would like to try proving this for yourself, it's not mathematically heavy, so you don't need to have like some deep understanding of the math behind Sudoku. It is more, place some digits and see if there's a pattern that you can find that arises. But you already know what to look for. You're going to be looking for a checkerboard pattern that will arise. So a checkerboard pattern, for those of you playing along at home, would look something like this. This would be a checker chessboard pattern. So something like this. And what I'm saying is 3 digits, right? We have 3 blues here. 3 digits will always appear in the blue, and the other 3 digits will always appear in the white cells. So that is something to try to look for. And with that, those are the rules. Let's just jump right into it. All right. So to start off on the proof, to call it that, it's a very lightly, I guess, calling it a proof. But we just look at this thermo, and that's the first place I would recommend we start because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in this position, you could pencil mark, you could good lift your thermo, but it's not strictly necessary because of the pattern that we'll get, right? You'll see. So now, if you're trying to prove this for yourself and maybe you weren't sure where to move from here, I would recommend that you look at box 3. So the easiest thing is we think about where the digits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 go in box 3 here. So I'm actually going to go through and I'm just going to pencil mark it one by one. So 1 sees these 2 cells by Sudoku, this by knight's move. 2 sees these 2 by Sudoku, these by knight's move. 3, these 2 by Sudoku, this by knight's move. And I'll go through and I'll do the rest. 4, 5, and 6. And that was always just Sudoku and knight's move. So now there's something that might pop to your attention, come to your attention, and that is that we have a 135 triple. Even better, it is a chocolate teapot. So what that means for us is this cell can't contain 1 and this cell can't contain 3 because the 135 have to exist here. And look at that. Just by doing basic pencil marking, we already see this pattern arising. The easiest way that I found at least to explain this is just the simple fact that 2, 4, and 6, all of them see these 3 cells here. So these 3 cells can never contain 2, 4, 6, which limits them here, right? 2 sees this by Sudoku, this by knight's move. 4 sees this by Sudoku, these by knight's move. Again, the same pattern. And 6 is the same thing. So we end up with this sort of shape that arises. And again, we have a 2, 4, 6 triple. It doesn't matter which order this goes in. Either way, none of these cells can be the 2, 4, or 6. They can only be from the set 1, 3, 5. So I will just do some naive pencil marking. I will not worry about making sure that my digits are all, like removing the 3, removing the 4, because right now it's just about finding this pattern. So what I will do is actually, I'll color code with my yellow and blue. I would do just standard black and white if I thought that it would be easy enough to see and really show off, right? White is not going to really show off well, and neither will black with these darker blue digits. But anyways, the next part of it would be how do we expand this logic to the right here, right? Because theoretically, you can't just take this pattern, right? Just like we did this pattern. Whoops. Just like we did this pattern. You can't just take this pattern and, apply it here. That's not how it works. So there's actually something better that we can do, and it's pretty simple once you see it. It's that this cell here, well, I guess any of these cells here have an interesting property. This cell sees these 2 cells, 1 and 3, but it also sees the 5 by knight's move. So if it can't be any of the yellow digits, it must be a blue digit. And in the same way, as you move down, it sees 4, 6, and 2. So this is going to be yellow. And again, it sees all 3 yellow digits by Sudoku knight's move. And you can see why the pattern propagates so easily down the grid. And you can continue across trying to figure it out. But one thing that comes up is when you try to expand it here, for example, it doesn't really work the same way, right? Why couldn't this be 6, for example, right? It couldn't be 4, right? Obviously, by Sudoku and Knight's move, but why couldn't it be 6, right? Why couldn't this be, oh, I'm in color mode. Why couldn't this be 6 and this be 4? Well, there's actually something that's really interesting that occurs, is that another way you could have expanded this logic rightwards, and we will actually use that to expand rightwards, is that we know that these 3 cells are going to be all 3 types of blue. Well, by Sudoku, this blue sees this cell, and by Knight's move, these 2 cells see this cell. So if this can't be any of the blue, then by contradiction, it must be yellow. Across, we need to see 3 yellows and 3 blues, so we're missing a blue. This sees all 3 types of yellows, so it must be blue. And again, to finish off the row or even the box, we need yellow. And then, again, now we have this logic here, this kind of triangle logic, I guess you could call it. And it tells us, these 3 cells all see these 3 cells, so these 3 cells must be a blue type. These will be yellow, and these, it's kind of the same logic that we did, but upside down, right? These 3 cells all see these 3 cells, so they must be yellow, and these must be blue. And yeah, that is the proof. Not particularly rigorous. It's very much a proof by what's it called? It's been too long since I took geometry. I guess just proof by demonstration. But yes, so now it's just about filling in the numbers. So we know that blue is 246, and there's a reason I built the thermometer the way I did here. Because blue is 246 and it's all in the thermometer, it must be 246 like this. The only digit that is less than 2 is in fact 1, and with that, this is a completely easily solvable Sudoku. So now it's just a game of fill in the blanks. You know, you can choose whether you want to do the odd digits first or the even digits first. Let's just go through the odd digits. So this will be 5, this will be 3, this will be 1, this will be 5, 5. This will be 3, this will be 1, this will be 3, this will be 5, 1, 3, 3, 5, 1, resolving that chocolate teapot, 5, 3, 1, and 5. And now I'll go through and I'll do all of the even digits. So I guess with all of that, I hope you enjoyed this. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't a solve. It was just more of a demonstration of a very unique property. And it's actually kind of sad because at the end of the day, it just sort of trivializes any anti-knight 6x6 that you could maybe want to do. Maybe there's a way to use this rule set in a way that it requires you to know this little chessboard, checkerboard trick. And I guess it could be interesting to see with, I guess, like Little Killer. What else goes on a diagonal? I don't know. Um, it's the only thing that can come to my mind, actually. I guess Little Killers would be an interesting way to try to exploit this trick. But I guess also just lines, right? You could have different types of lines, like maybe it's not a standard German whisper, but you know, German whisper where they have what is it, a difference of at least 3. There's plenty of ideas I'm sure people can come up with to use these rules to kind of bend the rules to make them work the way they want to. But at this point, I'm just rambling along. So hopefully you enjoyed, and thank you for watching.